I want to ask you about something a little bit serious for just like half a minute. I know that's very difficult with you.
Get serious with me.
For a half a minute.
Do it. Just do it. Get serious with me now.
You are a host.
I can hear you.
You're a host on SiriusXM 102, which is Vivid Radio, correct?
Yes.
All right. Recently, one of your fellow on-air hosts, not from Vivid Radio, but from the Opie and Anthony Channel, got fired. I don't know if you heard anything about this, if there was a company memo that went out.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did, and I don't know. I think it's just because I follow him on Twitter. I saw that crazy ass shit.
Nice. Okay,
so like, whoa.
So here's the situation. I have been listening to the Opie and Anthony Show for 14 years. So as a fellow SiriusXM satellite radio host, I'm curious about what you think about the fact that he got fired for shit he said on Twitter rather than taking a physical approach to defend himself.
You know, okay, so I've got two opposing sides to this.
The only reason I'm asking because you're a host.
I actually, on this subject, I will get pretty serious for a second.
Okay.
I do think that it was completely, like, I don't know if you saw everything that was said, but I'm the queen of making off-color remarks. And by color, I don't mean racial slurs the way that he did.
Right.
But, you know, like, I understand hilarity and all that stuff and finding humor and saying, you know, racist remarks because they're funny. But with what he said, I was shocked. Like, I literally just, like, almost couldn't even keep reading. Calling people savages and black bitch and I hope she die, like, shit like that. Like, that was beyond much. That was, the thing is, though, on the other side of it, is Opie and Anthony are almost kind of like a staple in on-air history. Like,
right.
Stern, Howard Stern, Opie Anthony, those are people that you think of when you think radio.
Sure.
Do I think that he should have been fired due to the things that he wrote on Twitter, social media? No, I think that was taking it a bit too far. But at the same time, when you are a public figure like that, everything you say, it counts almost 20 times more. And I know this sounds fucked up, 20 times more than what the average person says. Like, fucking Farrah Abraham could have said that shit and it was just like, oh, she's a dumb whore, which she is. But, you know, it wouldn't have really mattered because nothing she said matters. But the fact that he said it kind of takes the magnitude of the words to another level. So I understand, and he's a direct representation of SiriusXM. So I understand. I feel like there definitely should have been repercussions. And when something like that is said, I understand that it's really hard for a station to be like, okay, how do we handle this? Because if we keep him on, it sounds like that we're tolerating racism and that's okay. And if we fire him, we're, you know, like all the diehard Opie and Anthony fans are going to revolt against us. It's a double-edged sword. So I understand what they did. Their backs were kind of up against the wall, and those words were extremely harsh. And the way that he wrote things sounds like he was kind of probably already going off the deep end, kind of like a bit nuts. But I definitely don't think... I think Sirius made the right choice by doing what they did. I'm sure that they thought about it for a really long time, and they wouldn't have... Because you gotta understand, like, Sirius is losing a huge channel by losing him.
Sure.
You know, like, the choice that they made directly impacted them. But I do think that was... I don't know if I would have necessarily fired him, just because of how huge of a staple he is.
Now that having...
It's a really hard question to answer. Like, I think that was just too far. Like, it made me sick reading that stuff. Like, I make racial jokes all the time because they're fucking funny, but by no means am I ever serious about them.
Now, as a fan of the Opie and Anthony Show for the last 14 years, and somebody who knows Opie and Anthony personally, like, I was at Anthony's house 4th of July weekend, and...
Oh, so you were there when that shit was...
I was there the day after it all went down. So, from somebody who is not in the know by any stretch of the imagination, but I know them well enough as a fan, I think, to be able to maybe speak on at least my thoughts on the situation.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Anthony meant the tweets that he sent out. Well, let me backtrack to the situation itself. The situation itself happened in Times Square at an early hour of the morning. He is a legal gun owner and allowed to carry in the city of New York City, which is a very difficult thing to do. But being an on-air personality, a person of his stature in the community, he feels like he needs to defend himself if something were to seriously go wrong. And he doesn't walk around with an entourage of bodyguards and shit like that. So,
exactly.
He feels the need to carry in order to protect himself. He was attacked by this woman. He was taking pictures, and whether intentional or not, this woman wound up in his pictures. And she took umbrage to this and came at him and swung at him and hit him. Rather than physically retaliate, he backed up from this woman trying to defend himself, and 5 other black guys came up and said, don't even think about fucking hitting her, and he's yelling at them like, this isn't your fucking fight, don't get involved. And rather than physically defend himself against this woman or these other 5 guys, he went home and took to Twitter and vented on Twitter. What he said on Twitter...
Yeah, and he kept... The thing is, the biggest thing is that he kept going for about 24 hours. Like, it just looked crazy.
Right, but what he was saying was specific... It was Germanic to those particular people that he was dealing with. He wasn't meaning it about all black people in general, because I know for a fact he has friends that are black, so he doesn't feel that way about black people in general. He, like most of us, have made off-color comments and jokes and stuff like that, both on the air and off the air, and SiriusXM was fine with it. Now, Opie and Jim Norton went on the air this week and addressed the tweet situation by saying SiriusXM explained to Opie that the reason he was fired was not the racial content or alleged perception of racial content of those tweets, but the fact that there was a violent overtone to the tweets themselves. Had nothing to do with race or anything else. It was the violent overtones to the tweets themselves.
That's what's kind of good to hear, and at the same time, not like I know it sounds like a dick by saying, oh, thank God it wasn't the race card. That was the reason, like, he got kicked off air. Because by all means, like, yes, I think racism is a serious issue. But at the same time, it's like, he's been, like I said, like a staple in history for so long. And this guy's clearly not racist, or else, like, somebody that has that much hate for another race and fellow humans, they don't get that far in life. Like, you can't get that far in life without having that much resentment on your back. Right. And I definitely think that it was a little bit far. And now me knowing that it wasn't the race card, it was the violent undertones, I almost think that was taken even farther. Like, I think even more now, he should have not lost his position on Sirius. I mean, I definitely, like I said, I understand why it happened. SiriusXM as a company, like, they kind of have their backs against the wall. Like, what do we do? It looks like we're encouraging this kind of behavior, or we're backing it, or we're losing out on a piece of history. Like, there was no right choice that they could have made. Had I been in that position, I don't know what I would have done, honestly. But I do think that completely letting him go was a little drastic.
Right.
Because you can't have Opie without Opie and Anthony.
Absolutely.
And whether or not you've ever heard the show, everybody's heard of Opie and Anthony.
Right.
You know what I mean? And do I think that he went a little too far? Yes. And the way that everything was written, it looked like it looked like he went off the deep end. Like, it really, really did, for how long it went on, for how over-exaggerated the things were. Like, I have fucked up shit happen to me every day. Like, I don't go on fucking Twitter and blast about, oh my God, I got searched and stripped down because for carrying bomb powder at a fucking airport when I wasn't, and fuck these people, and like, I don't go on long rants like that. Or, like, I've been involved, like, I've been in situations where I've been literally in a shooting before, like, you know.
Right.
And I've never gone on rants about that. He went a little far with it, but I don't think by any means that that's still justification for taking somebody's job away from them. But I do understand that when you are idolized like that, a little bit much more higher in pop culture, the way that he is, your word almost becomes more serious, and everything you say, it gets taken a lot more serious than anybody else, as fucked up as that sounds. It's true. People idolize you. People listen to what you say. So you need to take it just that much more seriously. The words that come out of your mouth mean more. And I get it. I just don't think that it was necessarily right.
In hindsight, though, had he decided to physically respond, even in self-defense, we could be looking at a whole different playing field where maybe he was up on murder charges or something like that because he was defending himself in a physical way. So don't you think that going to Twitter and venting, I mean, think about time before Twitter.
Okay, well, but look at it this way. You're a grown-ass fucking man. A grown-ass woman. Anywhere that I'm going to vent, why would social media be my first place? The reason you go to social media is because you have that fan following. You want that justification, and you want that, like, that feeling of verification that, like, yeah, fuck that person, da-da-da-da, because, dude, like, you don't need to, like, you got issues, go and fucking write about it in your diary. Go and fucking tell your friends. You don't need to go on social media in front of hundreds of thousands of people, 50,000 people, however many followers you have, and write childish remarks. See, I get that. I don't put my personal drama out there. He could have tweeted something and been like, oh my God, the most fucked up situation happened to me, da-da-da-da. But he went on. He went overboard with it, which didn't need to happen. But that's the thing, is the fact that you and I are analyzing it this much later just shows how much he meant in radio history.
Absolutely.
We're fucking talking about it right now.
Absolutely.
But I don't think that was very mature or adult at all for him to take to social media and Twitter nonetheless to talk about that. And the hateful things. Like, me, when something terrible happens in my life, like, I might say something that alludes to what's going on in my life on Twitter, but I won't ever go off on full rants because that gives people more reason to hone in on my life, feel like they're more part of me, talk about it, come to their own conclusions, and it's just, it's not mature. It's not very adult to do that. So no, he shouldn't have done it, but he did. I don't know why he did, and that's almost even more of a reason why I feel like he kind of went off the deep end. Maybe there were some other underlying issues, and sometimes in the heat of the moment, you do things like that, and then you go back and delete them, which I saw that he did. But the thing is, you know, he is much older than I am, and he's been in radio much longer, and he knows he knows where he stands. Like, he knew how many people listened to what he said, and it's like, maybe if it meant that much to you, you could have gone on the radio and talked about it in a much more calm fashion. But because of the way that he went out all erratic, that's probably why he's having the negative repercussions that he is now.
He has actually said that he went out and deleted the tweets not because of the heat that he was getting, but because that people were breaking down his tweets and picking them apart and using them out of context to say whatever they wanted to say about the situation.
Oh my God! Did you? Okay, for anybody that actually saw the tweets, there's not really a way to take them out of context. They were written very point blank. The context in which they were written is the context in which they were taken. They are extremely hateful. And
I'm not going to say that they weren't hateful, because they were hateful, but I don't necessarily.
They were awful.
I don't agree that they were racist, except for speaking specifically about the people he was dealing with. I don't think that he was blanketing all black people into the statements that he was saying, but he was making social commentary.
Of the racism. Okay, so let's take the racism out of it, because like we've come to, racism is not why he was fired.
Right.
It was the hate that was under it. To take the racism out of it, how they were written was terrible. Like, you know, to say, like, I hope she dies. Like, that's not something to say to anybody. And if
But I mean, come on, you've never gotten into an argument with somebody and said, you know what, fuck that person, I hope they drop off the face of the planet, or I hope they get hit by a car, or something like that. You've never said that about anybody in your life before? I know I have.
I have, but let me tell you, at the same time, I take responsibility for the people that I know that listen to the words that I say, the popularity that I have, and I've never said that kind of shit on social media.
Right. Well, that's another...
That's what I'm saying. When you have a following, you need to take that into account much more than most people do.
Right.
And that's why you need to watch your fucking mouth. There's a feeling of I don't know how to put it, but ownership when you have a following. You need to be careful with that stuff, that people listen to you much more and much more tentatively. So I don't think by any means he should have brought violence in. He shouldn't have brought violence into it. You know, yeah, I mean, I do think that it was still brought a bit far by taking his. I don't think, like I said, I don't think that him losing his position was by any means warranted.
Right.
But I do understand that Sirius had their backs against the wall.
I understand that Sirius. I understand that Sirius probably did what they thought was the right thing to do at the time. However, if you've ever heard the Opie and Anthony Show, and I'm sure you have, but if you've listened to that show or any show like it, even if you've just listened to Howard, you know that those types of things, especially in this day and age, have a tendency to
comprised of off-color remarks. And like I said, I am definitely known for making off-color remarks all the time. Racial fucking jokes are funny. Racism is funny. Hate is funny. It's great to poke fun at that kind of stuff.
Right.
But you can tell in the context of which somebody is saying something, when somebody is saying something in hate or when they're saying something out of hilarity.
Right.
That's what changes the fucking game. And the fact that he said everything with, I hope this person dies, with legitimacy behind it, that's what took it to the next fucking level. And that's what put everybody in an uncomfortable situation.
Right.
You know? And, like, I'm on Anthony's side. Like, I think that he's great. I'm a huge fan of Opie and Anthony. Like, as somebody that wants their life to be in radio, like, I look up to them. I totally do.
I do too, as well.
But I also, as somebody that has a following, not even a following anywhere close to Opie and Anthony's, I understand that my words directly impact other people in the way that they think much more greatly than somebody who doesn't have a following. You know, so it's just like when I speak on social media, I say more stupid shit that doesn't fucking matter, and when I'm angry, I don't vocalize that because I can't speak out of anger. You need to rationalize your thoughts. It's like being a child all over again.
Right.
Don't say something like, it's like listening to Bandy. Don't say something you don't say something unless you mean it, or whatever the fuck it is that little deer said. But you know, like it's a shitty subject. I don't think that he deserves to lose his position at all. But I understand why. You know, it's like if he were working on his own network, then he could go back and be like, look, I redact all these fucking words and so on and so forth. But he is working under Sirius.
But it's
they have a whole nother level of stipulations to meet, and they've got, you know, over 40 million listeners to appease.
It's nothing that he hasn't said on the air before, though. Also, Alexa, though. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there so you know, too. And just so you know, this wasn't meant to bait you into anything. I just was curious about your thoughts on the subject.
No, dude,
I'm not trying to get you riled up either.
I appreciate you asking because, you know, I really do look up to him. And I watched it all go down on Twitter, and I was thinking, like, oh, my God. And, you know, I can't, I don't think that he should have lost his position, but I'm not necessarily going to say that it was unfair or that it was fair.
Right.
Because I can see both sides of the story. But I do think that he should have kind of, like, pumped the brakes a little bit before going to social media. Like, you don't need to post that shit out there. You've got fucking 13-year-old children that can't decipher between hilarity and logistics that's following him on Twitter, you know, and you don't need to be making racial comments like that for young children to be seeing, or fucking anybody, you know? Like, there's fucking retards out there. They're fucking 50 years old that don't go, Anthony thinks I should kill a black chick. I'm going to go kill a black chick.
Well, like, I don't think that Anthony was trying to say that, but he was...
Yeah, no, not at all. I don't think that's what he meant to say. But you know how people twist things when they hear you on the radio or when they hear you anywhere.
Believe me,
I think with having a following is that people twist shit.
I think a lot of people on both sides have twisted a lot of things through this whole situation. I think on both sides.
What it comes down to is everybody just got really fucking touchy after 9/11. Okay? That's what it comes down to.
Nice.
Had 9/11 not happened, Anthony would have done a job. Thank you, terrorist.
And by firing Anthony Cumia, the terrorists win.
Anthony Cumia.
God.
You try to kill people. You try to take down the Freedom Tower. See, that's what I mean. Like, sometimes off-color remarks can be funny, other times not. And the thing is you can't take context in writing, especially on fucking Twitter. You have 140 characters to work with, my nigga. How are you gonna go off on some black broad to kick your ass?
Wow.
In 140 characters.
Well, that's why it took him.
Hours.
That's why it took him so many tweets. You wonder why he had so many tweets over 24 hours. There you go.
Many tweets. Like, I get it, bro. I get it. 140 characters. That's hard to work with. Once I went off on this guy that was abusing his dog in like 5 texts, I had to write 600 characters. I get it. That's what emojis are for. He should have just had the emoji app and just used that like little brown.
Nice.
The brown icon, like the piece of poop with like smiling for like the black girl, and then like the flexing arm for like beat my ass, and then like the little. You know what I mean? Like, he could have turned it into something funny. He could have turned it into a bit, but
yes,
you know, whatever.
Well, apparently now he's going to do his own podcast from his house. It's going to be a live streaming show from his house. And Opie and Jimmy are kind of riding out their contracts until October. So it should be interesting to see how this is all going to go down.
That's what I'm wondering about Opie and Anthony is how they're going together. Because the only thing that Opie had tweeted out was, "Did I miss something?" You know, it's like kind of funny. And I know Jason Ellis just got another like a big contract or something, as he announced on Sirius, and I'm wondering if they gave that to him due to the losing another large show. And,
well, they didn't lose the show.
It's going to change everything quite a bit.
They didn't lose the show. They still have Opie and they still have Jimmy there, but a lot of people.
They lost Anthony.
They lost a lot.
Welcome to the Opie and Jimmy show.
They lost a lot of subscriptions through this whole thing.
Yeah,
it was estimated that they lost $3 million because of all the subscriptions that were canceled.
Alexa Ames is here, and she got that show on SiriusXM, and anybody else that wants to cancel their subscription, you can come on over to my channel.
Nice.
Listen to me. I promise you I'll stay off color all day long.
You know, we need to have a talk with the. That's what we should do. I should get you to be the co-host of this show, and then we'll put this.
You should get me as it can be Opie and Alexa.
Nice.
You should get me on there. Sorry, Anthony, you my nigga, but bitch gotta eat.
And we could put the radio freaks on Vivid Radio, and then we could talk about all this kind of shit. See that?
Yeah, I'm working on quite a few things. I'm working on moving on up with Sirius. I want to establish that relationship with them, and I'm hoping to have maybe in the next couple of years or something, get my own show on another station. I've expressed this over to Vivian, so this is a great stepping stone for me. But radio is definitely where I want to be at. And
nice.
Really, I'm stoked about everything.